A row over who paid for the UK Prime Minister's apartment renovations has dogged Boris Johnson for days now. Now, Labor is calling for a full and frank explanation. There are now some MPs within his own party voicing their discontent with the affair.
Keeping up appearances in a Downing Street that's been looking increasingly shabby. The Prime Minister staying out of sight today as the questions keep coming over his conduct in office.
Yes, he is sweet, isn't he?
His ministers instead left to try to get back to the day-to-day business of government.
I think it's important that we keep focused on what our main priorities for the people, which is about getting people back into work, to protect lives, to protect livelihoods. And I'm confident that's the activities which will take up the majority of our focus, rather than some of the other issues which will be addressed in the usual way.
But there really are a lot of other issues, and this former head of the civil service says as the volume builds, there's a real risk of harm.
It comes across as chaotic, a toxic atmosphere, and most importantly, a lack of any kind of regard for basic rules and principles, really. And I think in the end that will do damage. I do think the Prime Minister needs to look very long and hard at the way he's approaching the delivery of government.
And you do think it will damage him at the polls eventually?
I think it will. I also think it will damage the delivery of his priorities.
They're not just the PM's priorities. Some in his party are frustrated too.
The Prime Minister, I'm sure, is being distracted by matters that he frankly ought not to have to be concentrating on at the moment. We are still in the middle of a pandemic. That's what the Prime Minister, any Prime Minister, needs to be concentrating on. Not tittle-tattle, not gossip, not domestic issues.
But the distractions keep coming in the form of his work, his home, his alleged romantic relationships. His former ally, now enemy, Dominic Cummings, will give evidence against his former boss at a parliamentary hearing next month. And revelations about how the Downing Street flat was paid for raise questions about whether the Prime Minister broke codes of conduct or even the law. And his relationship with Jennifer Arcuri when he was London Mayor is now subject to an inquiry after the businesswoman claimed the pair had been having an affair. Boris Johnson was described as the Teflon Tory, his ability to brush off controversy an electoral asset. But if any of this sticks, he could lose his sheen, with all the political danger that draws.